Most people believe pirates were nothing more than thieves of the sea, men with wooden ships, black flags, hidden treasure, and a life built on violence. That is only the legend. The real story began centuries before the first famous pirate ever sailed the oceans. Long before governments declared them criminals, before merchant empires ruled the seas, there existed another brotherhood. They had no famous captains, no skull and crossbones banners, no names preserved in history. Only one belief: the sea belongs to no king. Ancient sailors whispered about them in quiet ports scattered across the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean. They were not conquerors, they were survivors. Whenever powerful kingdoms demanded impossible taxes, seized fishing villages, or forced ordinary sailors into dangerous naval service, small groups disappeared into the open sea. There, beyond the reach of castles and crowns, they created their own laws. No throne, no emperor, no kingdom, only freedom. At first, they attacked no one. They traded between isolated islands, rescued abandoned sailors, and guided lost ships through dangerous waters that official maps refused to acknowledge. Many coastal villages secretly welcomed them. Kings called them outlaws. Fishermen called them protectors. Merchants called them smugglers. History would eventually call them pirates. But that word had not yet been invented. Their greatest advantage was never their ships. It was knowledge. Every hidden reef, every dangerous current, every storm that returned with the changing seasons. While royal navies depended on charts drawn in palaces, these sailors trusted generations of memory. They sailed where others feared to venture. They discovered islands that appeared on no official map. Some claimed entire civilizations existed beyond the known trade routes, protected by walls of fog and impossible tides. Whether those stories were true, no one could say, because very few who searched for them ever returned. As decades passed, scattered crews slowly became connected. Captains met in secret harbors hidden inside cliffs where enormous caves concealed entire fleets from passing ships. There were no crowns among them, no supreme ruler. Every captain remained equal. Disagreements were settled through discussion, not war. The sea, they believed, punished pride faster than any enemy. One ancient saying echoed through every hidden harbor: the ocean gives everything and keeps everything. Young sailors memorized those words before they ever learned to navigate by the stars. Then the great empires expanded. Powerful kingdoms launched enormous trading fleets, carrying gold, spices, silk, and silver across the oceans. Every voyage created unimaginable wealth, but only for kings. Ordinary sailors remained poor. Many worked for months without fair pay. Some never returned home. Others died protecting fortunes they would never share. The hidden captains watched this new world with growing concern. Freedom was disappearing. The sea itself was becoming controlled by governments that had never respected it. Some believed diplomacy could preserve their way of life. Others argued the time for peaceful coexistence had ended. The first great division had begun. A younger generation demanded action. If kings steal from every sailor, why should sailors obey kings? The question spread from harbor to harbor. Each year, more crews abandoned royal service. More ships quietly vanished from official fleets. Some captains simply sailed away. Others took their vessels with them. Within a single generation, the hidden brotherhood transformed. They no longer avoided conflict. They prepared for it. Secret harbors expanded. Blacksmiths forged stronger cannons. Shipbuilders designed faster vessels capable of outrunning even the finest naval warships. Experienced navigators created private sea charts, unlike anything governments possessed. The oceans themselves became their fortress. Yet one rule remained unchanged: never betray another free captain. That law stood above every disagreement, above every treasure, above every life. Those who broke it disappeared from every harbor forever. No second chances, no forgiveness, no exceptions. As the years passed, stories about mysterious ships began spreading across Europe. Merchant captains described vessels appearing silently through morning fog before disappearing into open water without leaving a trace. Entire cargoes vanished overnight. Gold shipments never reached their destinations. Governments blamed storms. Merchants blamed thieves. The truth was far more organized. Hidden beneath ordinary piracy, an invisible brotherhood had begun reshaping the world's oceans. They possessed no empire, no capital city, no standing army. Yet they controlled routes that even kings feared to challenge. History would remember only the famous names: Blackbeard, Henry Morgan, Anne Bonny, Calico Jack. But those legends belonged to a much later age. Long before them, before the Black Flags, before the pirate republics, before the bounty hunters, there existed something far more mysterious: a forgotten brotherhood of captains who believed that no ruler, no empire, and no nation could ever truly own the sea. Their names were erased. Their ports disappeared beneath the tides. Their maps were burned. But their ideas survived. And one day, those ideas would give birth to the most feared pirates the world had ever known. As the hidden captains grew in number, the oceans became divided in ways no kingdom understood. Royal maps showed trade routes. The Brotherhood saw something entirely different: safe currents, hidden passages, secret anchorages, waters where no navy dared to sail. Each captain guarded a piece of that knowledge. Together they possessed a map of the oceans unlike anything the world's greatest empires had ever created. They never wrote it down in one place. Too dangerous. Instead, every trusted captain memorized only a small part. If one was captured, the entire Brotherhood remained safe. That single decision protected their secrets for generations. Their ships also changed. Merchant vessels were built to carry cargo. Naval ships were built for war. The Brotherhood built something entirely different. Fast enough to outrun larger fleets, strong enough to survive violent storms, small enough to disappear into narrow island channels where massive warships could never follow. Every plank served a purpose. Every sail was designed for speed. Every cannon was placed with careful precision. A pirate's greatest weapon was never firepower. It was escape. Within hidden coves scattered across the Caribbean, the Atlantic islands, and the African coastline, shipbuilders worked day and night. Entire villages existed that appeared on no official map. From the sea, they looked like empty cliffs. Behind those cliffs lay thriving harbors carved into natural caves, large enough to hide dozens of ships. Only trusted navigators knew the entrances. Even then, they could be reached only during certain tides. The sea itself guarded them. As the Brotherhood expanded, captains realized they needed laws. Without rules, freedom would become chaos. So representatives from every hidden harbor gathered on an isolated island, surrounded by razor-sharp reefs. No king attended. No government representative was invited. Only captains. For 3 days they debated beneath enormous palm trees overlooking the sea. Arguments echoed late into the night. Some demanded complete independence. Others believed unity offered greater protection. On the 4th morning, they reached an agreement. Every crew would choose its own captain. Every captain would answer to the Brotherhood's code. No captain could steal from another. No crew could abandon sailors to die at sea. Treasure would be shared according to agreed rules. Any dispute would be settled before fellow captains. The code contained only a handful of laws, yet breaking even one carried terrible consequences. Those declared oathbreakers lost everything. No harbor welcomed them, no crew accepted them, no ship offered passage. On the sea, that punishment was often worse than death. Meanwhile, Europe changed rapidly. Spain filled its treasure fleets with silver from the Americas. Portugal dominated eastern trade. England, France, and the Netherlands built ever larger navies. The oceans became highways, carrying unimaginable wealth. The Hidden Brotherhood watched every ship, not because they wanted war, because they saw opportunity. A single treasure fleet transported more wealth than entire kingdoms had possessed only generations earlier. Ordinary sailors risked their lives protecting fortunes they would never touch. Many quietly deserted. Some stole ships, others disappeared into the hidden harbors. The Brotherhood welcomed them carefully. Every newcomer faced weeks of observation. Could they navigate? Could they fight? Most importantly, could they be trusted? Gold tempted everyone. Loyalty remained priceless. One elderly captain addressed every new recruit with the same warning. Storms reveal weak ships. Treasure reveals weak men. Those words became almost sacred. As years passed, royal governments grew increasingly frustrated. Merchant captains reported mysterious attacks carried out with impossible precision. The raiders struck only the richest vessels. They rarely harmed ordinary fishermen. They almost never attacked poor trading ships. It was as though someone carefully selected every target. The kings called them criminals. Coastal villagers often called them justice. The truth lay somewhere between. Not every captain followed the code perfectly. Greed slowly found its way into the Brotherhood. Younger crews began questioning the old traditions. Why share treasure equally? Why respect captains from distant harbors? Why hide forever instead of ruling the seas openly? The older generation recognized the danger immediately. They had seen ambitious men before. Empires were not built by armies alone. They were built by pride. One evening, beneath a sky filled with countless stars, the oldest captains gathered once more. None spoke for several minutes. Finally, one quietly said, "The sea has protected us, but it cannot protect us from ourselves." No one argued, because every captain understood the warning. The greatest threat to the Brotherhood was no longer the royal navies sailing across the oceans. It was the ambition slowly growing within its own ranks. Somewhere among the younger captains, one man had already begun dreaming of something no pirate had ever attempted. Not freedom, not survival, not hidden harbors. He dreamed of an empire built entirely upon the sea. And before long, his black flag would become the most feared symbol ever carried by the wind. The older captains had sensed it coming. For years they had warned that greed could destroy everything the Brotherhood had built. Now, their fears became reality. A new generation of pirates no longer wanted to hide inside forgotten coves or secret harbors. They wanted the entire world to know who ruled the sea. One captain changed everything. His real name has been debated by historians for centuries. Some believed he had once served in a royal navy. Others claimed he had been the son of a wealthy merchant who abandoned his family's fortune after witnessing corruption among powerful governments. No one could prove either story, but everyone agreed on one fact. He understood something no pirate before him had fully realized. Fear could travel faster than any ship. Treasure was valuable. Reputation was priceless. Instead of attacking quietly under the cover of darkness, he ordered his crew to sail openly beneath a black banner. At first, many captains laughed. A flag only made a pirate easier to find, but they misunderstood its true purpose. The black flag was never meant to hide. It was meant to announce. Whenever merchant lookouts spotted it rising above the horizon, panic spread across entire fleets before a single cannon had fired. Some surrendered immediately. Others abandoned valuable cargo simply to escape. The battle was often won before it even began. Soon, other pirate captains adopted their own terrifying banners. Some displayed skulls, others used crossed swords, skeletons, hourglasses, bleeding hearts. Every symbol carried a warning: surrender now, or face death. The oceans had never seen psychological warfare on such a scale. Across Europe, merchants became increasingly desperate. Insurance costs soared. Entire trading companies lost fortunes as more ships disappeared without reaching their destinations. Kings demanded answers. Admirals promised victory. Yet every fleet sent to destroy the pirates returned with the same report: they vanish. The pirates seemed to know every movement before the navies themselves. Whenever warships entered one region, pirates struck somewhere else. Whenever governments strengthened one trade route, another suddenly became vulnerable. Someone was always watching. The Brotherhood had created an intelligence network stretching across the world's busiest ports. Dock workers, fishermen, tavern owners, shipbuilders, even some merchants quietly sold information for the right price. A pirate captain often knew where treasure ships were sailing weeks before they left harbor. Information became more valuable than gold. One whispered conversation inside a crowded tavern could determine the fate of an entire fleet. Meanwhile, pirate life attracted thousands, not because it was easy, because it offered something ordinary sailors rarely received: choice. Unlike royal navies, pirate crews often voted for their captains. Treasure was divided according to agreed shares. Even the lowest sailor could challenge unfair treatment. Life remained dangerous, but many considered it more just than serving kings who viewed sailors as disposable. This unexpected freedom frightened European rulers almost as much as the piracy itself. If ordinary sailors realized another way of living existed, their navies might collapse from desertion. Governments responded with brutal force. Captured pirates were publicly executed. Their bodies were displayed inside iron cages hanging above busy harbors. The message was unmistakable: this is the price of rebellion. Yet something extraordinary happened. Instead of frightening sailors, the executions often inspired them. Every hanging created another legend. Every legend attracted another recruit. The oceans grew even more dangerous. Hidden pirate settlements expanded into thriving communities. Markets sold stolen spices, silk, sugar, rum, and gold from every corner of the world. Blacksmiths repaired damaged cannons. Carpenters built faster ships. Doctors treated wounded sailors regardless of nationality. Inside these settlements, former enemies often worked side by side. A French pirate might share a table with an English sailor. A Dutch navigator could sail beside a Spanish gunner. On land, they belonged to rival nations. At sea, they answered only to the Brotherhood. Still, beneath the growing success, the old captains noticed a dangerous change. The code that once united every crew was slowly being ignored. Some captains attacked peaceful fishing villages. Others robbed ordinary merchant families instead of wealthy empires. Several even betrayed fellow pirates for government rewards. The Brotherhood had grown too large to control. Its greatest strength was becoming its greatest weakness. One stormy evening, the oldest surviving captain stood alone on a cliff overlooking a harbor, filled with dozens of pirate ships. Black flags fluttered proudly in the wind. Cannons gleamed beneath the moonlight. To everyone else, it looked like the beginning of a golden age. To him, it looked like the beginning of the end. He whispered quietly to the crashing waves. We taught them how to live free, but no one taught them when to stop. Far beyond the horizon, the greatest naval powers in the world were already preparing something unlike anything the pirates had ever faced. Kings who had spent centuries fighting one another were beginning to agree on a single goal: destroy piracy forever. And the greatest war ever fought upon the open sea was about to begin. For nearly a generation, the pirates ruled the sea. Merchant captains feared every distant sail on the horizon. Treasure fleets traveled with heavier escorts. Ports closed before sunset. Entire coastlines lived in constant uncertainty. Yet the greatest kingdoms in the world had learned an important lesson. No single nation could defeat the pirates alone. Whenever England hunted them, they escaped into Spanish waters. When Spain launched a fleet, they vanished among French islands. The pirates had turned the rivalries of kings into their greatest shield, so the kings changed their strategy. Instead of fighting one another, they began working together. It was an alliance no one believed possible. English admirals sat beside Spanish commanders. French naval officers exchanged maps with Dutch captains. Governments that had spent centuries at war suddenly shared one common enemy: the pirates. Royal shipyards worked day and night. Entire forests disappeared as thousands of oak trees became mighty warships. Cannons grew larger. Hulls became stronger. Sails carried fleets farther than ever before. The oceans prepared for war. Meanwhile, inside the hidden pirate harbors, the younger captains laughed at the rumors. They've chased us for years. They'll fail again. But the older captains remained silent. They recognized the warning signs. Merchant ships had changed their routes. Government spies appeared inside taverns that had once been safe. Several hidden anchorages were discovered within the same month. Someone was talking. One morning, a pirate lookout climbed a rocky cliff overlooking the Atlantic. He froze. On the horizon, dozens of white sails stretched from one end of the sea to the other. Not merchants, warships, more than anyone had ever seen gathered in one place. The message spread from island to island. The hunt had begun. The first battles shocked both sides. Pirate captains expected slow, heavily armed naval ships. Instead, they found faster vessels designed specifically to chase them. Several famous pirate ships were surrounded before reaching open water. Others escaped only by sailing through reefs that destroyed the pursuing fleets. The oceans became a battlefield unlike anything history had witnessed. Cannons thundered from sunrise until nightfall. Smoke covered entire bays. Broken masts floated across crimson waters. Some pirate crews fought to the last man. Others abandoned burning ships rather than surrender. Captured pirates faced public execution. Governments wanted the world to watch. Huge wooden gallows appeared in nearly every major port. Crowds gathered as captured captains were hanged beneath fluttering royal flags. Their bodies remained suspended for weeks. Iron cages displayed them as warnings to anyone dreaming of piracy. But something unexpected happened. Many people looked upon those executions with sympathy instead of fear. Poor sailors remembered unfair wages. Fishing families remembered crushing taxes. Dock workers remembered years of hunger, while merchant companies grew richer than kings. To them, the pirates represented something more than criminals. They represented resistance. That frightened governments almost as much as piracy itself. Inside the pirate brotherhood, disagreements became impossible to ignore. Some captains wanted one final united battle against the royal fleets. Others argued they should disappear once more into forgotten waters, just as their ancestors had done centuries earlier. The debates grew louder. Friendships shattered. Old alliances collapsed. For the first time, pirates began fighting pirates. One captain betrayed the location of a secret harbor in exchange for a royal pardon. The attack came before dawn. Warships surrounded the hidden cove, while most crews still slept. Cannons fired relentlessly. Ships exploded before their anchors could even be raised. Flames climbed into the morning sky. The harbor that had protected generations of free captains vanished beneath smoke and fire. When survivors counted the dead, they realized something heartbreaking. The Royal Navy had not destroyed the harbor. Betrayal had. The oldest surviving captain gathered those who remained. His beard had turned completely white. His face carried the scars of 50 years at sea. Looking across the burning wreckage, he spoke quietly. We feared kings, we feared storms, we feared the sea. But the thing that destroyed us was greed. No one answered. Because everyone knew he was right. The pirate empire had not fallen because the kingdoms became stronger. It had fallen because the Brotherhood had forgotten why it was created. Freedom had slowly become fortune. Honor had become ambition. The code that once united every captain had become little more than a story told to young sailors. As the smoke drifted across the ocean, the survivors scattered. Some sailed west, others disappeared into the Indian Ocean. A handful vanished into waters no official map dared to name. The golden age of piracy was far from over, but the invisible brotherhood that had once ruled the seas as one family had been broken forever. And among the surviving captains, one ruthless pirate was already planning to build his legend, not through unity, but through terror alone. The Brotherhood had fallen. Its secret harbors burned. Its ancient code was fading into legend. But piracy itself was entering its most dangerous age. Without a single brotherhood to unite them, captains no longer sailed for a shared cause. They sailed for themselves. Some wanted gold. Others wanted revenge. A few wanted something even greater: to become legends. Across the Caribbean, rumors spread of captains whose names alone could empty entire ports before their ships even appeared on the horizon. Every tavern told different stories. Some claimed one pirate fought with burning fuses woven into his beard. Others spoke of a woman captain who feared neither kings nor storms. Another was said to command a fleet so fast that royal ships never even caught sight of its sails before disappearing beneath cannon fire. Whether every story was true no longer mattered. Fear had become more powerful than reality. The oceans belonged to reputation. One name echoed louder than all the others: Blackbeard. His enormous beard, twisted into thick braids, often held slow-burning fuses that filled the air around his face with smoke. When enemy crews saw him through the drifting clouds, they believed they were looking at something less than human. Many surrendered before a battle even began. Blackbeard understood what earlier pirate captains had discovered. The greatest victory was the one won without firing a cannon. Further north, another legend rose: Bartholomew Roberts. Unlike many pirates, he dressed like a wealthy gentleman. Silk coats, golden chains, elegant hats decorated with feathers. He believed appearance inspired confidence. Under his command, hundreds of ships fell into pirate hands. He became one of the most successful captains the oceans had ever known. Then came Anne Bonny. In a world dominated by men, she shattered every expectation. She fought beside her crew with remarkable courage. Many sailors later admitted they feared facing her more than many famous captains. Alongside Mary Red, she proved that bravery belonged to no single nation or gender. Meanwhile, Calico Jack became famous for a different reason. His colorful clothing made him instantly recognizable. But it was the black flag bearing a skull above crossed swords that would outlive him. Generations later, that image would become the universal symbol of piracy itself. The seas seemed filled with legends, yet behind every famous captain stood hundreds whose names history forgot. Navigators, shipwrights, doctors, cooks, lookouts, ordinary sailors who endured endless storms, disease, hunger, and battle. Life aboard a pirate ship was far harsher than stories often suggest. Fresh water spoiled quickly. Food became infested with insects. Scurvy destroyed the health of entire crews. Broken bones rarely healed correctly. One violent storm could erase months of successful voyages. The ocean offered freedom, but it demanded everything in return. Pirate crews accepted those dangers because the alternative often seemed worse. Merchant ships paid almost nothing. Naval discipline was brutal. Whippings were common. Captains ruled absolutely. Many sailors believed they stood a better chance surviving among pirates than serving under kings. Even so, not every pirate deserved admiration. Some crews ignored every remaining trace of the old Brotherhood's code. They attacked innocent villages, kidnapped civilians, destroyed fishing communities. They became exactly what governments had always claimed pirates were. Those actions damaged the reputation of every captain sailing beneath a black flag. The distinction between freedom fighters and ruthless criminals slowly disappeared. Governments used those atrocities to justify even greater military campaigns. Across Europe, newspapers printed terrifying stories about pirate attacks. Some reports were accurate, others exaggerated beyond recognition. Either way, public opinion changed. The pirate became less a rebellious sailor and more a monster. By the early 18th century, bounty hunters joined the hunt. Former pirates betrayed former friends for royal rewards. Governments offered full pardons to captains willing to surrender. Some accepted, others refused. Many disappeared forever into distant seas. One evening, an aging sailor sat alone on the deck of his weathered ship as the sun vanished beneath the horizon. A young crewman asked him quietly, "Were the old stories true?" The old sailor smiled sadly. "They're all true, and none of them are." The young man looked confused. The sailor continued, "History remembers famous captains. I remember hungry men trying to survive. I remember storms. I remember brothers buried at sea. I remember dreams that began with freedom and ended with greed." The waves crashed gently against the wooden hull. Far across the water, another pirate ship disappeared into the evening mist. No one aboard knew it, but the age of the great pirate captains was already drawing to its close. The kingdoms had learned. Their navies had grown stronger. Their spies had become more effective. Their patience had finally ended. The next chapter would not be remembered for legendary captains. It would be remembered for the relentless campaign that nearly erased piracy from the oceans forever. By the beginning of the 18th century, the great pirate captains had become the most hunted people on Earth. Every major empire had reached the same conclusion. Piracy was no longer a nuisance. It was a threat to global trade. Merchant companies were losing fortunes. Insurance costs reached record levels. Entire colonies depended upon treasure fleets that now sailed in constant fear. Kings demanded results. This time, their admirals delivered. Across Europe, governments launched the largest anti-piracy campaign the oceans had ever witnessed. New naval bases appeared across the Caribbean. Fresh warships entered service every month. Experienced captains received orders with only one objective: find the pirates, destroy them. Unlike previous campaigns, this war relied on more than cannons. Governments built networks of spies inside ports, taverns, and marketplaces. Former pirates were offered freedom in exchange for information. Captured crews faced a terrible choice: execution or betrayal. Many remained loyal, others did not. One confession could expose an entire hidden harbor. One map could destroy years of careful secrecy. The Brotherhood's greatest weapon had always been invisible. Now, its invisibility was disappearing. One by one, pirate refugees fell. Tiny islands that had once echoed with laughter and celebration became silent ruins. Hidden caves filled with abandoned ships. Old treasure caches were seized by royal officials. The sea itself seemed to be swallowing the final traces of the pirate world. Meanwhile, the famous captains continued fighting. Blackbeard refused every offer of surrender. He believed fear remained his greatest ally. When naval ships finally cornered him near the American coast, the battle lasted only minutes, but it became legendary. Cannons roared across the water. Smoke covered both ships. Swords clashed across blood-soaked decks. Even after suffering terrible wounds, Blackbeard continued fighting until he finally collapsed. His death spread across the Atlantic almost overnight. For many sailors, it felt as though an era had ended. Elsewhere, Bartholomew Roberts remained undefeated longer than almost anyone expected. His fleet captured hundreds of ships. His confidence became almost unstoppable. But even the greatest captain cannot escape fortune forever. During a fierce naval battle, a single cannon blast struck him before the fighting had truly begun. His crew honored his final request. Rather than allowing enemies to display his body as a trophy, they committed him to the sea. The ocean kept its captain forever. Anne Bonny and Mary Red met different fates. Captured after fierce resistance, they stood before royal courts, surrounded by soldiers and curious spectators. Their courage astonished even those sent to judge them. History would preserve only fragments of their stories. Much of what truly happened disappeared into rumor. Across the Caribbean, one pirate captain after another vanished. Some died in battle. Some accepted pardons. Others escaped into ordinary life under new names. A fisherman, a merchant, a dock worker. No one knew how many former pirates quietly disappeared into the growing ports of the Atlantic world. The black flags became increasingly rare. Merchant ships once again crossed the oceans in larger numbers. Governments celebrated victory. Newspapers declared piracy finished. But sailors knew better. The sea never forgets. Even after the great fleets disappeared, isolated pirate crews continued appearing in distant waters. The Indian Ocean, the coast of Africa, the South China Sea. New generations adopted old methods, different flags, different languages, the same struggle. Freedom against authority, profit against law, survival against impossible odds. An elderly naval commander, reflecting on decades of war, once remarked, "We defeated the captains, but we never defeated the reasons they became pirates." His words quietly spread through the ranks. Many young officers had witnessed the truth themselves: poor wages, cruel discipline, corrupt merchants, desperate sailors. As long as those conditions existed, someone would always be tempted to raise a black flag once more. On an isolated beach, far from the busy shipping lanes, an old pirate buried a weathered chest beneath the sand. Inside was no mountain of gold, no glittering jewels, only a faded black flag, a rusted compass, and a handwritten copy of the ancient Brotherhood's code. He covered the chest carefully and looked toward the endless horizon. The treasure was never the gold, he whispered. It was the freedom. Moments later, he walked away without looking back. The waves slowly erased his footprints. The sea kept one more secret. And although the golden age of piracy was fading into history, its greatest mystery had yet to be discovered. Because somewhere beyond the maps of every empire, stories still spoke of one pirate colony that had never been conquered. A place where the last true captains had vanished, taking their greatest secret with them. Long after the great navies declared victory, strange rumors refused to die. Old sailors spoke of a place beyond ordinary maps, a harbor hidden by towering cliffs, a city where no king ruled, a port where black flags still flew proudly over peaceful streets. Most historians dismissed the stories as impossible. The surviving pirates, they argued, had either surrendered or been killed. There could be no pirate kingdom left. Yet the sea has always protected its greatest secrets. Merchant captains occasionally reported seeing distant ships vanish into thick banks of fog without leaving a trace. Fishermen discovered abandoned anchor chains in places where no official harbor existed. Some claimed they heard church bells ringing from islands that appeared completely deserted. No expedition ever found the source, because those who searched used ordinary maps. The last pirate navigators used something entirely different. They followed the stars, the tides, the flight of seabirds, even the color of the ocean itself. To outsiders, the route seemed impossible. To experienced captains, it was simply another path hidden by nature. Deep within a chain of forgotten islands, the survivors of the old brotherhood had quietly built a new home. There were no castles, no palaces, no royal banners. Wooden docks stretched across calm blue water. Shipyards echoed with the sound of hammers. Markets overflowed with spices, timber, fish, and cloth gathered from every corner of the world. Children played beside retired sailors who spent their evenings telling stories of storms, sea monsters, and legendary voyages. It looked less like a criminal settlement and more like a free nation. The first law of the Republic remained unchanged. No king shall ever rule here. Every captain had one vote. Every crew elected its own officers. Disputes were settled before a council rather than by force. Treasure taken during successful voyages was divided according to the old Brotherhood's code. Widows received support. Injured sailors received care. Families of those lost at sea were never abandoned. For a brief moment, the forgotten dream of the first captains seemed alive again. But freedom attracted attention. Runaway sailors arrived almost weekly. Escaped prisoners sought refuge. Merchants, hoping to avoid royal taxes, quietly established businesses inside the hidden harbor. Even former naval officers deserted their governments after witnessing corruption among powerful officials. The Republic grew faster than anyone expected. With growth came familiar problems: greed, power, ambition. Some younger captains questioned the council. Why hide forever? We have hundreds of ships. We control trade. We could become an empire. The older captains exchanged worried glances. They had heard those words before. Generations earlier, they had nearly destroyed the Brotherhood. One elderly navigator stood before the council, carrying an ancient compass, blackened by salt and time. This compass belonged to the first captain, who refused to serve a king. He taught us something. The moment we seek power over others, how we become the very rulers we escaped. His words echoed through the crowded hall. Some listened, others did not. Meanwhile, beyond the hidden islands, European empires continued expanding across the oceans. New colonies appeared every year. Trade routes grew busier. Naval patrols became stronger than ever before. The world was changing too quickly for secrets to remain hidden forever. One autumn morning, a lookout climbed the tallest cliff overlooking the Republic. Far beyond the reefs, he spotted unfamiliar sails. Not merchants, not pirates, royal warships. They had not arrived by accident. Someone had revealed the location. The alarm bells rang across the harbor. Families rushed toward shelters. Cannons rolled into position. Captains gathered aboard their ships one final time. No one asked who had betrayed them. That answer no longer mattered. The oldest pirate in the Republic slowly raised the original black flag above the harbor. Its cloth was faded, its edges torn by decades of wind and storms. Yet every sailor stopped to salute it, not because it represented piracy, because it represented freedom. As the enemy fleet advanced through the morning mist, silence spread across the harbor. Every captain understood the truth. Some battles are fought to win. Others are fought so that future generations remember what once existed. The lost pirate republic prepared for its final stand. And before the sun disappeared beyond the Western Sea, the greatest hidden civilization ever built by pirates would either vanish into history or become an immortal legend. The battle for the lost pirate republic lasted from sunrise until long after darkness covered the sea. Royal cannons shook the cliffs. The defenders answered with everything they possessed. Smoke rolled across the harbor like a second ocean. Ships burned, masts collapsed. The sea itself seemed to disappear beneath floating wreckage. For every pirate ship destroyed, another emerged from hidden coves carved deep into the surrounding islands. The Republic had prepared for this day for years. Secret tunnels connected warehouses beneath the cliffs. Underground caves stored food, fresh water, and gunpowder. Even if the harbor fell, the people intended to survive. But the royal admirals had learned from generations of failure. This time, they did not attack blindly. Captured pirates had revealed enough information to understand how the Republic defended itself. Warships blocked every escape route. Supply ships surrounded the islands. Smaller vessels hunted anyone attempting to flee. The trap slowly tightened. Inside the council hall, the remaining captains gathered one final time. Many wore blood-stained coats. Several carried fresh wounds, yet none spoke of surrender. One young captain struck the wooden table. "We break through tonight. We still have enough ships." The oldest navigator slowly shook his head. "No. If we fight for ourselves, everything ends here." He unrolled an ancient sea chart, older than anyone in the room. Unlike every royal map, it showed places no empire had ever discovered. Hidden currents, remote islands, secret passages through dangerous reefs. Generations of pirate knowledge covered every inch of the parchment. "This," he whispered, "is the real treasure. Not gold, not jewels, knowledge. If the map fell into royal hands, every hidden refuge would disappear forever." Without another word, the captains understood. The Republic could be rebuilt. The map never could. That evening, under the cover of a violent storm, 3 small ships quietly departed through an underwater passage known only to the oldest navigators. They carried no treasure, no silver, no precious gems. Only the ancient maps, the original Brotherhood's code, and the written history of every captain who had ever served beneath the black flag. Their mission was simple: survive. Behind them, the remaining pirate fleet sailed directly toward the royal blockade. The attack looked almost suicidal. Cannons flashed across the darkness, ships collided, explosions illuminated the rain-soaked sky. The royal commanders believed every pirate vessel had joined the desperate charge. They never noticed the 3 small ships disappearing into the storm. By sunrise, the battle was over. The lost pirate republic no longer existed. Its harbor burned, its docks collapsed into the sea. The council hall stood in ruins. Royal soldiers searched every building expecting to discover unimaginable wealth. Instead, they found empty warehouses, broken furniture, abandoned homes. The treasure everyone expected simply wasn't there. Furious officers dug beneath the streets, opened hidden vaults, destroyed ancient walls. Nothing. The greatest pirate colony in history had vanished without leaving behind its greatest secret. Across Europe, newspapers celebrated the victory. The last pirate kingdom destroyed. Piracy defeated forever. The oceans are safe again. Kings congratulated one another. Merchant companies celebrated record profits. Trade expanded faster than ever before. The world believed piracy had finally ended. Yet old sailors quietly smiled whenever they heard those headlines, because they knew something historians did not. The Republic had sacrificed itself. It had never intended to survive. It had intended to protect its knowledge. Years passed. Storms buried the ruined harbor beneath sand and coral. The sea slowly reclaimed every stone. Travelers sailing through the region saw only empty cliffs and crashing waves. No one imagined an entire civilization had once existed beneath them. Meanwhile, far beyond the world's busiest trade routes, 3 weathered ships continued sailing. Their crews grew older. Children born aboard those vessels learned to read the ancient sea charts before they could properly write their own names. Every generation added new discoveries, new islands, new currents, new warnings. The Brotherhood no longer ruled the oceans. It became something quieter. Guardians, protectors of knowledge that no empire would ever possess. One winter evening, an old captain handed the ancient chart to his granddaughter. "You are not inheriting treasure. You are inheriting responsibility." She carefully rolled the map shut. "What happens if someone finds us?" The old captain looked toward the endless horizon. "They'll spend their lives searching, because they'll be looking for gold." He smiled, and the greatest treasure was never gold. As the ship disappeared into the morning mist, history lost sight of the last true heirs of the Pirate Brotherhood. But one mystery remained unsolved. If the pirates had never hidden mountains of treasure, why did maps marked with a giant X continue appearing all across the world? The answer would become the greatest pirate legend ever told. For more than 300 years, the world searched for pirate treasure. Kings financed expeditions. Wealthy merchants hired explorers. Treasure hunters crossed oceans following faded maps marked with mysterious X's. Some spent their entire lives digging on deserted islands. Most found nothing. The question refused to disappear. Where had the pirates hidden their unimaginable wealth? Stories became legends. Buried gold beneath lonely palm trees, silver locked inside underwater caves, jewels hidden beneath ancient forts. Every generation added another tale. Yet almost every expedition ended the same way: empty hands. Historians eventually noticed something unusual. The greatest pirate captains had captured enormous fortunes. Gold from Spanish treasure fleets, silver from merchant convoys, rare spices worth more than kingdoms, precious gems from distant colonies, enough wealth to build empires. But almost none of it was ever recovered. It had simply vanished. One elderly historian studying forgotten naval records discovered a curious pattern. Pirates rarely buried treasure. In fact, most never did. They spent it. Ships constantly needed repairs. Cannons had to be replaced. Gunpowder spoiled. Fresh food disappeared within weeks. Crews demanded fair shares after every successful voyage. Unlike kings, pirates rarely stored fortunes inside giant vaults. Money moved constantly. It kept the Brotherhood alive. So why did treasure maps exist? The answer lay hidden inside the ancient code preserved by the last surviving captains. An X did not always mark buried gold. Sometimes it marked a safe harbor, a hidden freshwater spring, a cave where damaged ships could be repaired, a secret meeting place, a narrow passage through dangerous reefs. Only those taught the code understood the symbols. To everyone else, they appeared to be treasure maps. The misunderstanding spread across centuries. People searched for gold. The pirates had been protecting knowledge. Meanwhile, the descendants of the 3 surviving ships quietly continued their voyages. The ancient sea charts grew larger with every generation. Entire coastlines unknown to old empires appeared upon them. Dangerous currents were carefully marked. Storm routes were updated. Even strange islands that disappeared beneath unusually high tides were recorded. Their greatest responsibility was no longer piracy. It was memory. They became historians of the sea. Every captain added a few pages before passing the collection to the next generation. One captain recorded unusual whale migrations. Another mapped underwater reefs. Others described coastlines changing after earthquakes or hurricanes. By the 19th century, their collection had become the most complete record of the oceans ever assembled. Still, they revealed it to no government, no empire, no navy, because they remembered what happened whenever kings claimed ownership of the sea. One summer afternoon, a young sailor asked the oldest captain aboard their weathered vessel, "Why don't we sell these maps? We could become richer than kings." The old captain smiled. My grandfather asked the same question. And what was the answer? The captain looked toward the waves. Gold makes men powerful. Knowledge makes civilizations. If kings owned these maps, every hidden place on Earth would disappear. The young sailor nodded quietly. For the first time, he understood why generations had protected old pieces of paper more carefully than chests filled with treasure. Far away, treasure hunters continued chasing legends. They dug beneath lonely beaches, explored forgotten caves, searched shipwrecks lying deep beneath the Atlantic. Sometimes they discovered a few coins, an old compass, a rusted pistol, enough to create another newspaper headline. Never enough to explain the mystery, because the greatest pirate treasure had never been hidden underground. It had always been moving, carried from ship to ship, captain to captain, generation after generation. As the 20th century approached, steamships replaced wooden sailing vessels. Modern navies dominated the oceans. The age of the pirate seemed finished forever. Yet somewhere beyond ordinary shipping lanes, an old wooden brig still crossed the sea, using nothing except stars, wind, and the ancient Brotherhood's maps. The modern world believed piracy belonged only to history, but history was about to repeat itself, because a new kind of pirate was preparing to rise, not with black flags, not with cannons, but with engines, steel ships, and weapons the old captains could never have imagined. The oceans were changing once again, and so were the pirates. The age of the great pirate captains ended. But piracy did not. The black flags slowly disappeared from the horizon. Wooden sailing ships gave way to iron steamships. Cannons became naval artillery. Compasses were joined by engines and wireless communication. The oceans entered a new era. Yet, wherever wealth crossed the sea, someone still sought to steal it. The pirates simply changed with the times. By the late 19th century, most governments believed they had finally defeated piracy forever. Merchant fleets grew larger. Navies became stronger. International trade connected continents like never before. The world seemed too modern for the old legends. Then, quietly, new pirate groups began appearing, not in the Caribbean, not around the old pirate republics, but in narrow shipping lanes where thousands of merchant vessels passed each year. They no longer sailed majestic wooden ships. They used fast motorboats. They carried rifles instead of cutlasses. Engines replaced sails. Technology replaced the stars. But one thing never changed. The sea still offered opportunities beyond the reach of governments. Throughout the 20th century, piracy rose and fell in different parts of the world. Political instability, economic collapse, war, poverty. Whenever law disappeared from the coastline, pirates returned to the water. The names were different. The flags were different. The reasons often remained the same. Many modern pirates were not seeking fame. They sought survival. Some came from fishing villages where foreign fleets had emptied the oceans. Others lived in regions where governments had collapsed completely. For them, piracy became a desperate business rather than a legendary adventure. The world often remembered only the attacks, rarely the circumstances that created them. International navies once again found themselves patrolling dangerous waters. Coalitions of nations worked together, much like the Royal Alliances centuries earlier. Warships escorted merchant convoys. Helicopters searched vast stretches of ocean. Satellite technology watched shipping routes from space. The hunt had become modern, but the challenge remained surprisingly familiar. The sea was still enormous. No navy could be everywhere. Meanwhile, historians continued studying the golden age of piracy. New shipwrecks were discovered beneath layers of sand and coral. Old journals surfaced in forgotten archives. Sunken cannons, rusted anchors, broken compasses. Each discovery added another small piece to a history that had never been fully understood. Slowly, a different picture emerged. The pirates were not simply villains, nor were they heroes. They were products of their time. Some were ruthless murderers. Others defended oppressed sailors against cruel systems. Some fought only for greed. Others genuinely believed freedom was worth risking everything. History had remembered them as one group. Reality was far more complicated. One museum curator studying recovered pirate artifacts wrote a sentence that would later become famous. Pirates did not invent chaos. They appeared wherever chaos already existed. That observation explained centuries of history better than countless books, because every great wave of piracy had followed the same pattern: weak governments, desperate people, profitable trade routes. The oceans merely reflected what was happening on land. Today, visitors walk through maritime museums and admire weathered pistols, faded maps, broken swords, and fragments of old ships resting behind glass. Children imagine buried treasure, adventure, mystery, freedom upon the endless sea. Few realize how dangerous that life truly was. Most pirates never became legends. Most never found great fortunes. Many died young from storms, disease, hunger, or battle. The sea gave them hope, and often took everything back. Yet one symbol survived every generation: the Black Flag. Once feared across every ocean, it became one of the most recognizable symbols in history. Not because it represented victory, but because it represented defiance. A refusal to accept the world exactly as it was, for better or for worse. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson the pirates left behind. Their story was never truly about buried gold. It was about ordinary people who believed they could escape powerful empires and create a different life upon the open sea. Sometimes they succeeded, often they failed, but they changed maritime history forever. The oceans remember no kings, no empires, no borders, only the ships that crossed them, and the people brave or reckless enough to sail beyond the horizon. The waves that carried the first forgotten brotherhood centuries ago still rise and fall today. Their hidden harbors have vanished. Their maps have faded. Their ships have long since become wrecks beneath the sea. But every time a black flag appears in a story, every time a child dreams of distant islands and mysterious horizons, a small part of their legacy sails again. And perhaps that is the one treasure the sea never allowed history to bury.